Hey everybody, this is Mike Balzano, publisher from R&R and the Experience Events. Welcome to episode 19 of Trade Talks, Unlocking the Experience. Got some good guests today. This is the second, I will say threesome, for lack of a better word, that we have on with us. So we have two gentlemen that are great guests. They are cleaners, they're restorers, they're former college roommates, podcasters, speakers, writers, leaders. They're serial learners, which I want to talk about in a little bit. One of them's a crazy cyclist and soon to be author, but we know them best as the creators of SuperTech University and the Blue Collar Podcast. Please welcome our friends, Larry Wilberton and Eric Sprague. Welcome, guys.
How are you?
So, Michael, how are you, buddy? Pleasure to see you.
Thank you very much. I was going to say, you threw me for a loop. I was going to wear my orange hat with your orange hat, but you don't have it. But we'll go with this for a couple of minutes, at least to start, if that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. I like you guys for a number of reasons. Mainly
you
because
look like, Michael, you need to be poolside with 12 kids and a wife that's nagging you or something. I mean, then that would fit what you're wearing right now.
Boy, I had to bite my tongue on that. No, I don't have that at all. So that's okay. I'll take this up. You two gentlemen have it's just a cool story and everything. I just want to go through it again for the three people who don't know it. College roommates, right? And what made you decide to, hey, we're going to go into business together?
It was quite a lot longer after college.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was visiting Eric. He was in Utah. And we were friends over the years, of course. We were in each other's weddings and all that stuff, hung out with each other's kids. And he talked me into this entrepreneurial seizure.
Yes.
Pretty much what it turned into.
I had left a corporate job, Mike, and moved from San Diego to Utah, and didn't want to sit in an office, didn't want to sit at a desk, and the real estate market was booming. Right. So I went to school and became a licensed home inspector. Mm-hmm. So I was doing that, and I didn't really love that because you're always the bad guy to every single person in the deal, right? You're crushing the dreams of the people who want to buy the house and angering the people who are trying to sell it, right? And I'm like, this sucks. But during that process, people kept asking me what the air ducts look like. Well, how clean are the air ducts? And it's not part of the scope of work for a home inspector. So I started looking, and they were always filthy. So I started an air duct cleaning business at the same time, and that took off more than the home inspecting. And Larry was visiting; he had a job, and I was having to drive like 2 hours to every job because where I lived, like the only town with any money was far away, and
super rural.
It was rural, yeah, and I wanted to, grow. And Larry was in SoCal, and I was just kind of like, let's take this south. Let's go. And, about to put this in some perspective. So I was booming in Utah, and then I went to California. I commuted every week for the whole time we were in business. But we started January 2nd, 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And
the boom was slowed down a little.
The boom busted, and all of a sudden our entrepreneurial dream was a nightmare. And we had to learn how to market and get noticed real fast. And I think we did a pretty good job of that. We just outworked everybody. We had people that had been in business for years in our local chamber of commerce, and within a few years, Larry and I basically ran everybody out of there because we'd get all the work. But we put in more effort than those guys. So that's kind of how we started. I mean, it was really baptism by fire for us because we started our business in the worst economy since the Great Depression. Mm-hmm. And where we were in the Inland Empire of California was the second hardest hit county in the country other than Greater Detroit.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think that and correct me if I'm wrong on this, what really struck me with the early years is you were great. You learned how to market properly. You had a lot of success, and your business probably grew. And then it seems like the aha moment was when you notice you're losing a couple of customers here and there. I was watching your video on your website yesterday, which was great. And you realized that became when you two stopped, you were off the truck, right?
Yep. Yeah. The skills that get you out of startup mode are not the skills that carry you through to be a bigger business.
And the crazy thing was these guys were better than us. They were better cleaners, better technically at doing the job, but they weren't able to connect with people. They didn't have those skills. They didn't have the people skills that they needed.
It's amazing. And it's just that, yeah, the people skills, they didn't trust them probably as much as you two. And then I bet you noticed once you started having a little more hands-on approach, things turned around again for a while. I'm assuming. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I mean, I like that side of the story. Is you learned, I think it ties back to something I want to talk about later, is that you two guys never stop learning and trying to learn, and not being too arrogant to say, I know everything and I could learn more. And that it seems like that's where the seed of that started. You know what? Well, we don't know everything. Let's keep being sponges, right? I mean, I think good.
Well, I think, Mike, if you watch the video, you know, the whole thing, the way it happened was, you know, we had grown probably when we were on that bike ride that's in the video, we probably had 20 employees roughly.
Right.
And Larry and I were so busy trying to get restoration work, like to keep the engine going, we had to like constantly be trying to get work. And when you do that, we just didn't have really anybody watching everybody else. We didn't have strong managers yet. We didn't have great engagement. And I think we were so stressed about just keeping everybody busy that we weren't doing a good job of leading and managing. And that was the watershed moment that one of us has to go back and be at the shop and create a system where people could be successful so we can all be successful. And that's what we did. It wasn't easy, but you know, it took time.
You utilize your strengths. You maximize the strengths you both have and try to just, if you weren't really great at something, maybe the other one could do it or something. There's a lifelong argument on that. And I always said, I don't know why people try to get better at what they're bad at. Just hammer what you're great at. You know, that's where all the success comes from, in my mind, at least, or maybe I'm rambling. I don't know.
Well, no, Eric always says that as well, but there was two of us and we had a lot more skill sets to do.
Yep.
But if it's one person that's owning a company, they still have to improve at things that are important. I mean, you do
or hire it
totally,
or hire it
or sub it out, but you still have to understand. And I mean, there is some things you just have to. I mean, Eric never knew math. I taught him a little bit, and now he's really good at running numbers and everything for this. So there is something to be said for that. He stepped out of his comfort zone and improved quite a bit.
That's very good. I'm proud of you, Eric, for that. That's great. All right, well,
I only do math that involves dollar signs, though.
That's all practical math.
Yeah, if it's not practical, I don't know algebra, no trigonometry. Right. I'm not interested in any of that.
Just put the dollar in front of it. You got it. So eventually things got better and you decided to sell Shamrock, right? Yep. And what led you to come up with the idea to do what you're doing now, which is such SuperTech and the podcast and everything? What was the turn? What changed for you to make you do that?
It was by accident, Michael. You know, Larry stayed at the company we sold to. He had to stay for three years roughly, and I took a consulting gig with a restoration company immediately after, right? And neither of us are wired to sit around the house and do nothing, right? So I'm consulting, and the company I went to, I mean, for lack of it had a very poor culture. The culture was not good. And they never met in the mornings, and they didn't ever get on the same page. And there was just a lot of drama, and it's inefficient.
Yeah.
And some of it reminded me of us when we sucked, right? You know, for lack of a better word. So I talked to the owner and I said, hey, can I do 2 meetings every week? You know, because I used to go there 3 days a week. I said, let me go and do my thing 2 days a week for 15 minutes. So we started to do it. And then all of a sudden you started seeing change, the same changes we saw when we started doing it in our own company. And then I remember, you know, in the days that I was there, I would go like check on jobs and make sure the team was doing the right things and coach them. And I showed up at this big job and almost every person in the company was on it. And I'm watching them stand there and talk about, we got to do the property protection. You know, this customer's disc profile is this. They're doing all the things that our team was doing in an environment that was much less nurturing. And all of a sudden I went, if it works here, it'll work anywhere, right? Like if it worked for us, but then it works at this place where this person is not committed to this, yet the people like it. So I remember I walked up the driveway onto the street and I called Larry and he was out marketing and I was like, I got our next business, man. Like I think I've figured something out. And then I went back to Utah, because I would commute to, it was in Idaho, this other company. And I just went in my garage and started shooting these raw videos, like just practicing. And trying to, like, at first, because we tried it with a whiteboard because I had always done it on a whiteboard in the shop, but that reflected all kinds of light. And then Larry was like, hey, why don't you use a blackboard? And we've used the blackboard ever since because it's like school, which has its own, issues too. But and then I remember we went to the first experience. We unveiled our company fall 2019 at the experience, and sold our first membership to Jorge Villalobos in the bathroom.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I had been through REITs with Jorge, and then he was in Howard with us, when we were at the Inner Circle. Yeah. And I just saw him in the bathroom, and he's like, George, he's like, amigo, and he's like, hey, what are you doing? Yeah, we're standing in the bathroom. And I told him, and he goes, great, I want to be your first customer. So like, as soon as we get out of the bathroom in the hall, I want to buy.
Awesome. That's incredible.
Yeah. So we sold our first membership ever in the bathroom 5 minutes before the experience started.
That's a good, we need to get that story on one of our videos from Jorge. Did you? That's fantastic. Well, I mean, and clearly you were onto something, you set up your system and it was repeatable and teachable. And that's basically what you're doing now. Now you're spreading the gospel, if you will, of this system. And doing a bunch of other things too, though, right? I mean, the podcast has always been a lot of fun. I've been you're very nice to have me on a couple of times, which I know you're low on Gus, but I appreciate it. And, I think that it's a fun, happy hour. This is kind of what I'm doing a lot of copying of you a little bit in this, just try to, we need some good information, but let's keep it light and keep it fun and optimistic. And I love listening to you guys.
Mike, the podcast we started, we didn't know how to market. Here's the thing that people don't realize. They see Larry and I everywhere. But the reason Larry and I have to be everywhere is because we're doing something no one else does. So we have to get out there and spread the gospel because nobody's like looking for this. They have to see it and be told about it and understand it. So Larry and I started the podcast. I mean, we so didn't know what we were doing. Our idea was, we'll start the podcast. We'll just record it. Nobody will ever listen to it. And then we'll put it in email blasts to our list. Right. And then that makes us like experts. Right. So we never thought we'd be actually podcasting for anybody listening. And I remember the first week, Larry, I think, didn't we have like 10 listens or 17 listens? And we're like, oh, that's a lot because, we only have this many family members.
Right. There's more than our family. Right. Go ahead.
And then the next week it was like 40. And then the week after that, it was like 400. And then it just started to roll.
Yep. Just started catching fire and it was great. And especially, COVID came around after that. And then the numbers spiked because everybody was just kind of listening to podcasts and hanging around. So that helped us in the podcast view an awful lot.
Well, it gave us a lot of guests like Tommy Mello and Mike McAllowitz from Profit First. They were all willing to come on because, nobody had anything going on.
Right.
So Larry and I just started inviting all these like big name guests and they'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll come on. Like, I don't know if that would have happened. Like the timing for the podcast, I think was good.
I think that, but I think if you look back to why it happened when you're with Shamrock, realizing that there's the people skills and all that stuff was so important, carries through to this because that pervades through your podcast. And when I hear you talk, it's the same thing. You want to be an expert, but you want to be friends and things like that, and get the word out. And I think that's great. I think that's was a big part of your success, even on this level of where you're at, in my opinion. That's not really a question. Again, I'm telling a lot of statements to you two. I notice. Not really asking you anything.
Now, the podcast. Yeah, because we're going to hang out. So the podcast was something we wanted to do in Shamrock for years. We just never got to it because we used to go to chambers and different meetings and do presentations, and we'd have our shtick.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'd scare people and sometimes we'd attract people. And mostly it was attracting, I think. But it would have been great if we were able to do it at Shamrock. I think we would have got some legs, but it's more of a, not a regional thing. It's a country and a world thing now with the podcast. Everybody can listen to it, which is really cool.
Yeah, no, exactly right. It's interesting how, yeah, you're right. Anywhere you're at, you could tune in. It doesn't like the old days on a radio where you have to be like 50 miles away to hear this. Now it's
crazy.
It's great.
Michael. We'll look through our data, and part of it is you can see where people listen from, like towns and countries. It's like everywhere in the world. Like, who in South Korea is listening to Blue Collar Nation podcast? Like, that makes no sense to me, but there are.
Yep.
So
very good. I love it. One thing I want to really briefly get into is that, again, on the learning, why do you go every time I go to Violand? I just love it. I think it speaks volumes to you too. You're always there. You're always attending one of the big Violand seminars. Why is that? I know the answer.
Well, go ahead, Larry.
Well, it's our audience, which is great. We have our people there. But initially when we went, Chuck invited us. And we're a fan of Chuck. I mean, Chuck's an amazing individual. He taught us a ton when he had strategies for success. The guy's got a ton of integrity. He's a little bit of he's a celebrity in the world of restoration. And when we invited us, we were like, wow, this is really cool. We'd love to go. And then when we were there, we just connected with people. And the environment there is very learning oriented, focused, professional. You have some quality companies there. Mm-hmm. And we really vibed on that.
For me, Mike, I mean, everything Larry said, but then for me, because I'm coaching a lot of restoration companies, I go to learn. I go to try to stay up on things because I have to know what's going on. Like, we haven't owned our restoration company in 5 years. Mm-hmm. I have to stay current or I'm useless to people. So, we're going to go to the executive summit in June, and, I'll be sitting in those classes just like everybody else, trying to make sure I know what's going on.
Yeah, I go out and I socialize in the hallway and I tell Eric, go inside there and learn something for us, would you?
Please.
Pay attention.
Somebody
pay attention, would you?
Except the free coffee. Yeah, somebody learned something. I think, but what struck me is when I talked to, forgive me, I think it was Eric. It might have been Larry. It's that, you know what? We figured out that we use this to really do a professional job of doing our business plan every year. We're good at it, but we realized since we're here, we might as well utilize these experts to help us. And I think that's great. And then people, again, it's a lack of ego thing. These guys could probably do a little better than what we've been doing. Let's use them. Use it at our disposal. I applaud you for that. I thought that was great.
When we got invited to start coming to the business planning retreat, we viewed it just like this is our opportunity to use all the tools available that Violand was nice enough to invite us. And, a lot of the things that people are seeing now, like the name change, because we used to be Morning Tech Meeting. We used to be Dry Ease Blue, not orange and dark blue, right? Like a lot of these things, that all came from us sitting for 2 days at Viola and just grinding through the process going, we're not getting noticed enough. Mike, when we first started, we go to the experience and people would walk up and like, oh, what do you guys do? And we're like, because we just named it Morning Tech Meeting because that's what we used to call our meeting. It's our morning tech meeting. And we'd say morning, and most owners don't like morning because they're stressful. They certainly don't like meetings, and they struggle with their tech. So like everything in our name sucked for them. Right. And then we would say that, and they would just turn around and kind of walk off. And we're like, okay, we got to make this different. We got to make this, they'll go to REITs. They'll go to an IICRC class. It's education, right? So we changed our name to SuperTech University because it really is like school. And, so all of this was born out of Larry and I having the system of going to learn how to be better business planners. And, Violand was kind enough to provide that.
It's a thread that I guess I'm beating a dead horse now, but it's a thread that runs through your whole careers. And I think it's a big key to why you're so successful. And everybody loves you, and for good reason. They trust you. Get the Howard Partridge pedigree, REITs, everything, Violand. And now you and yourself and your decades of inner experience, for lack of a better word, comes through. I think it's great. You guys are, and you're just good guys. Speaking of the experience,
it's our circles. It's our circles, Michael. I mean, we surround ourselves with people that are constantly learning, and we attract those people, and we look for those people because they're not our clients if they don't want to keep learning, which are our clients. And the people we socialize with and network with are always growing. I mean, look at yourself. You took over the experience, you're growing dramatically. You have all these challenges in front of you and you're hitting them head on. You're educating yourself. You're surrounding yourself with people that can make it a better experience. That's why we hang out with you and you pick up the bill.
That's right. That's true. That's a key part as an entrepreneur. I know for you. Hey, Eric, when's your book coming out? You have a book coming out right now, The Road to Seven Figures. Wow. Is it out or is it? Remember, this is airing in 2 weeks, so it might be out already.
Not quite out yet. So we will be like kind of unveiling it as a pre-launch at Howard Partridge's Inner Circle Conference. I'll be speaking. We actually are Howard, Larry, and I are starting a small group coaching business through the book, called Road to Seven Figures. So we'll be doing that. So, well, we're going to have like 100 authors versions for the conference, but they'll probably be honestly because there's stuff that we just couldn't make fast enough for the publishing side for the conference. So it'll probably be mid to late June. It'll be out like on Amazon and everywhere else.
So the first 100 books that we're going to unveil at Howard's are going to be like, they're going to have mistakes in them, I think. So they're going to be special. Someday they're going to be worth a ton of money because there's going to be a couple of things that need to be tweaked.
A couple typos.
Need to be changed.
Yeah.
Probably typos. Yeah. No, probably typos are the thing that they took care of. Okay. One image is going to be skinny wampus this way. The offer is going to send you to a page that doesn't exist. I mean, who knows what's going to happen?
Michael, what happened was I went to Howard's in November or December. I don't know, whenever. No, it would have been February. And we started talking about this. And, I thought he understood that the book was almost finished, meaning I'm writing it.
Right.
And then he went on social media when Eric's speaking, he'll have books, the whole thing, right? So, yeah, which, you know what? That actually was better because it forced us to get something done.
Yeah, I could see.
So the answer is, if you come to the Inner Circle event, you can have one of the 100 unique copies, and if not, probably June.
Hey, well. Also, let's segue now over. Don't forget, you can see Eric speak and Larry and Eric exhibit at the experience coming up in Las Vegas. It's going to be September 4th through the 6th, Caesars Forum, where it's been the last couple of years. And we're pretty excited to get back there. That's always the big over-the-top, robust convention for us. And having you guys be a part of it is so huge. You already said, 2019 was your first time there, Eric, right? And it was a very memorable story.
No, only as a vendor.
Okay. When was the first?
I went the year before Larry. It was wild. I was taking my carpet cleaning IICRC class in Rancho Cucamonga, California. Yep. And we ended on Friday. Larry and I literally had just started our business. And the instructor said, "Hey, who's going to Connections?"
Yep.
And I'm like, "What's Connections?" So I went and asked him after class. I'm like, "What's this Connections thing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm driving to Vegas as soon as I get out of here. It's like the biggest carpet cleaning show in the world." And I just looked at Larry and said, "I'm driving to Vegas. I'm going." So Larry held the fort down because I'm just like.
He tried to get a ride with the instructor, but he said, "No way, man. I don't know. You're creepy. This is weird."
I think it was the other way around.
Maybe.
No names.
All right. Fair enough. But
I went up and it was interesting. It really set Larry and I on a trajectory, right? So I walked the show and I signed up for 2 boot camps. Went to Joe Polish's Piranha Marketing Boot Camp and Howard Partridge's Boot Camp.
Yep.
So, I mean, we're literally like a few months into this business, really. And walked the show and I was just blown away. I didn't really know what anything was because I was brand new. But I knew that we had to go to this show every year, So then Larry went the next year. So we've been going, we might have missed a few right around the time we sold, but we've basically gone to every show since 2008, 9. Not the spring shows, the Vegas show.
I understand. I understand. I understand. I've heard that from a lot of people. A
I've
lot
been
of
to one spring show 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. That's right. And you were outstanding, by the way. But I heard that from a lot of people. A lot of people keep coming back. I remember one of the first interviews I did was with Barry Costa, and he said this literally he just experienced a loss in his family, a few weeks beforehand, and Larry Cooper allowed him to talk in a session. He said, "This is my family. These experienced people and attendees are my family. I don't want to. You never know if we're going to see him again." I thought that was beautiful, and that was kind of comes into hit me over the head what we need to try to continue on with this event. So having you be a part of it is great. Besides Jorge, any good stories here you come back from the experience years?
Well, I mean,
That's a big one.
We used to, that is, well, we have the first several clients from that first experience, and they're all still with us. And oh, Mike, I just got an email says that my book has shipped. So we are on for the experience.
This is happening, man.
Inner circle. Yeah. So anyway, sorry. We used to shut our company down. Like once we got to like 6-8 employees, we started just shutting down for a couple days. We'd rent a van and we would drive everybody up. And the reason being was we wanted our people to see that this is a career, not a job. Right. It was an opportunity for them to see where they could go with it. That it's not just, it's drudgery and I show up and I punch the clock and I cut drywall, like, and then we would all have dinner together and it was a bonding experience. So we used to use the show as kind of a motivational tool for everyone, or in a career development tool. Larry, you want to
So, Michael, we're driving to Vegas one year with the whole team in this van that we rented, a lot of people. And all of a sudden, we got a call from one of our better referral sources saying, "Hey, we got a gigantic loss." And we're like, and one of the guys that was going to handle it, one of the guys who was handling it that we left behind, he wouldn't have been able to handle this. And we knew it. And we stopped on the side of the road and looked at each other. And, this is part of business. This would have been a big moneymaker.
Yep.
Well, we decided it was best to invest in our team and keep going. And our guy went and checked it out, actually, and it was a dud, luckily, because, not every call is the best. Most of them you can't predict before you go.
Right.
But it was a great decision, but it was a testament to what we were trying to do, because our team saw that we made a decision for them and not for the dollar to make that job. So I think that resonated with our team. And that's what you have to do. I mean, in the long run, these guys and girls we had worked much harder for us because we did things for them that went beyond just a job.
No, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. And sometimes people have to take that leap, right? You guys had to many years earlier, and sometimes, okay, you may not be ready for this, but you know what? We're going over here. So you got to do it. And it worked out. It sounds like, thankfully it was a dud, but I'm sure he would have done fine. Anyway.
Well, look, real quick, Mike, the cool thing too is what we would say is like, go off on your own, see what interests you, see what equipment you think could be beneficial for us, see what chemical solutions would be good, right? And then we would have a debrief after and go like, what kind of training do you want to get? What, like one of our guys was just like, I want to be a rug cleaner. Like I went to the rug pit and I met with Lisa Wagner and then we ended up, he went through Lisa's school and we started doing rugs and built a rug pit and the whole thing. So that's all born out of just him being exposed to new things. It resonated with him.
No, for sure. And that's great. And I one final experience question was basically, why do you think people should go to the events, any of the events, in your opinion?
It's a trade show for the industry. You've got to stay educated in the industry. Just basically, that's what, I always think that benefited us dramatically. And if you're in any industry, whether it's plumbing, HVAC, electrician, soft wash, hard wash, but the thing is with the experience, there's a ton of quality. It's a good show. I mean, you can say, yeah, you need to go to any show, but it's not just any show. You guys do your best to give great content for everybody visiting, and you deliver that.
And I think in our industry, Mike, people, you should look at, like, it's like you were talking about with the education. You have to educate yourself, and you also have to surround yourself with people who are bigger and better than you, right? If you want to get to the next level. So you should absolutely go to the experience, because there's a lot of speakers. There's a lot of different tracks depending on what you do. And then, look, you should also, go to Violan for your business planning, and you should go to RIA if you're big in restoration. Like, I mean, there's shows that, I mean, and I don't think you should go to every show every year, probably, for a lot of people, but you should be creating a plan to get better all the time. And the experience I think for Larry and I and our company, that was the cornerstone of the plan. And then we worked off of that for other stuff.
Gotcha. No, I could see how that transpired for you like that. And with these events, it was hammered into me that hands-on was the key to this and our advantage. And after getting through Chattanooga, I see that's true. And we need to continue to teach people how to do this and get the experts, not me, get the experts out there to teach them how to do it, and we'll be okay. So before I let you go, thanks for everything. I got to ask you one final question, and I got some great answers to this. Our industry is kind of kooky, and I love it. So give me one thing, both of you. What is one thing you could tell everybody that people would be surprised to find out about you?
Ooh. About us?
Or individual. I mean, Lisa Lavender used to own an Arena Football League team. Mark Violand had a Cutlass 88 Supreme, and he decided to end it by going to Demolition Derby. There's some good answers. This industry. I like us. I'm going to put you on the spot. Sorry.
Larry and I work all the time. We're super poor.
All right. We'll let you off the hook.
I'll tell
all
one about Larry.
Yeah, please.
Maybe Larry. So Larry came on the first air duct. He came on an air duct cleaning job in Park City with me. And I was like, whatever you do, I need you to go out and get all the lint out of the dryer vent as I clean it from the inside. Right? Well, I didn't tell her. I just wasn't thinking that as he steps out the door, he's going to sink like 6 feet in snow. So poor Larry walks out with a bag, and it just goes, boom, right down.
Where'd he go? You made it.
Long gone. I sunk.
Yeah. But
that was a year there was at least 12 feet of snow. There were like tunnels driving down the roads because it was so high up in the air. That was the first year. We had a trailer on the back of the truck. That was a challenge, getting from place to place. But we made it happen.
No, I'm sure. And you're doing good stuff ever since. So, anything to get back at Eric at, or you want to just let it go?
I'm not prepared. I'm trying to think of what's appropriate. I mean, I got a lot of inappropriate stories.
We both have tons of stuff that's totally inappropriate.
You can't do this. All right.
I could tell you, Mike, something that probably most people don't. Like, the first time I saw my wife, I knew I was going to marry her immediately.
That is a great.
And then I stalked her, and then got married.
Can't do it anymore. I know. I actually, it's funny. I asked my wife out, and she said, no. We're working together. We can't do that. I go, yeah. I'll pick you up at 8. There was a different time. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. We'll dismissal. Darlene loved that, I'm sure.
That's right. Hey, we're still together. What the heck? It worked. Anyway,
there you go.
Please make plans to attend the Experience Convention, September 4th through the 6th at Caesars Forum in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Register through our website, rnrmagonline.com. You can find this and all R&R videos and podcasts on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Follow us if you haven't already, and feel free to leave a quick review. Also, please follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. A very special thank you to our guests today, Larry Wilberton, Eric Sprague, SuperTech University Blue Collar Podcast. This is Trade Talks, Unlocking the Experience. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.